I'm Derek Wayne, and you're watching Indy-Vision podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin from Ring Crew, and welcome back to the Indy-Vision podcast. We are on episode 3. And also, before we get into this and I reintroduce my co-host, remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like, comment, and turn on the notification bell so you can get notified from all of our uploads. Now, let me introduce my co-host, as always, the Assistant CEO of Pro Wrestling Express, PWX, and probably one of the most egotistical guys I've ever met, Eric Johnson.
I am really, really offended that you would say that. See, I find myself to be a very charitable human being.
Charitable? What? Charitable because you got Derek Wayne reinstated?
I just got done donating to charity, okay? I gave the Bruisers a tag team title match, and they weren't even members of the roster before, okay? I am willing to give chances to anybody throughout the wrestling world.
Well, that'll be a topic for another day, but we got to move on to who our guest is, though. Today, we have Tommy Horror, the advisor to Genophage.
How's it going, gentlemen?
How's it going, Tommy? Is it
Doing
good if I call you
fantastic.
Tom?
How are you doing?
You can call me Tom, Tommy, Thomas. It all sounds fine.
How is it advising Genophage?
It's amazing. Everything with Genophage has been going to plan. It's going to keep going to plan, and it's only going to get better from here.
But Tommy,
Also,
sorry.
Eric, I hope you got our basket in your office. Did you?
Yeah, I seen one. Thought it was weird.
Sent you some
That was from you.
That was from us. That was from Genophage. Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you.
We won't talk about why, but it's there.
Okay.
You know what.
All right. Well, exposing things that are probably illegal aside, Tommy, before you became the advisor to Genophage, you had an in-ring career of your own, did you not?
I did. Yes. I started out wrestling in the West Virginia indie circuit in a company called WVWE. And then I started training there under a wrestler named Devin Michaels. And then I came up to Pennsylvania and started working for RWA, which is another indie company here in Western Pennsylvania.
Now, where did you get trained down at WVWE, or was that just where you worked?
So I initially got trained down there. We had been invited to some shows down there because we had tried to reach out and see if we could get training. So they were like, come check out our shows. You know what I mean? See if it's something you still want to do. And as a kid, I was always into wrestling. So I really wanted to get trained. I really wanted to do whatever I possibly could to get in there and compete. So me and a couple friends went down there, checked out the show, talked to the head trainer down there, and eventually, we just all started training. And there was a guy in the training class with me that came with me that I knew from years ago playing music with him, and that is who you know now as Johnny Switchblade. And we ended up forming a tag team called the TV Casualties, both down in that WVWE and up here in Western Pennsylvania at RWA. We also worked at PWX. This was probably in 2009, 2010. We worked for PWX. WCA was another company. I went on to work at UCW. Unfortunately, at that point, Johnny Switchblade wasn't working or wrestling anymore. So I went to UCW on a solo career and then eventually joined up with a bunch of guys that called themselves the Blackwater Reapers.
All right. Now, when you were with the TV Casualties, you said you had known Switchblade before you got into wrestling. And you had mentioned the music, which we'll get into a little later in this. But would you? you would say then you and Switchblade knew each other pretty well going into it. Then you got trained together, so the TV casualties had great chemistry. We're working with each other.
Yeah, well, we had known each other from, I actually met Switchblade when he was playing in a band when he was only 15 years old. I was a few years older than him. But yeah, he was playing this show that we both did musically down in my hometown. And we just ended up talking and, hitting it off as friends. And yeah, we maintained a friendship. Eventually, I had him come and play in a band with me. And then, I started toying with the idea of getting into the wrestling business. And I talked to him about it and he was interested. So we both went down there to check it out and ended up both getting training at the same place.
I mean, that's one of the best things you can have is going into a business like this with somebody that you can call a friend. It makes you at least share similar experiences. So that way, because I know this business can be a little lonely for people that don't have that person. It's definitely a business where you got to watch out for you, and you definitely would feel more comfortable with somebody who you knew outside of it that can really be there with you. Would you agree on that one?
Yes, absolutely. Any competitive sport, you're going to have people that are willing to slit your throat, per se, to get ahead. So, like, you know what I mean? Anybody you think is your friend, if they have a moment where they can step on your neck and hold you down, they're going to do it. But thankfully, I've never had that problem with Switchblade. I knew I could trust him, and that's why we became a tag team.
Now, with you guys formed up and you said you worked at many different companies, who were like the main rivals? You guys were the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, like those kind of matchups. Who were the tag teams that you guys went to war with thousands of times?
I don't know about thousands of times. I know we had a few matches with Pretty Ugly, because Pretty Ugly, which is a guy by the name that everybody knows now from WWE, is James Ellsworth, and his tag team partner Adam Ugly. We were kind of like, the tag team that was really popular in this part of Western Pennsylvania, and then they were super popular in a different part of Pennsylvania. So it was like, everybody wanted to see that clash, and we got to do it a few times, and it was a good feud. Other than that, let's see, we had some good feuds with the Pocket Rockets was another one. Big Apple LLC, which was oh man, I'm struggling to remember names now. I'm sorry. I got hit in the head a lot during those years. So
Understandable.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we had some good stuff with them. Big Apple LLC was definitely Rick. Oh man. It's killing me that I can't remember his name. And I know Rick, I apologize if you're listening to this. I'm just forgetting your name. But I mean, like Michael McMoney was another one. You might know him. He runs LAW.
He helps run LAW. I did spend some time helping them set up rings down there a couple years back.
Yeah, he was somebody who was in that Big Apple LLC. I had a lot of good matches with the Wraith, if you guys know him. Johnny Demonic. Let's see. If I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. Like I said, the unfortunate part of this business is that you do take a lot of, shots to the head and things like that, and just injuries happen. And I don't exactly, it's really scary sometimes because there's a whole timeline during my career that I do not remember much. And it frightens me. Sometimes Switchblade will bring up like, oh, do you remember us doing this match? And like, he'll go through it step by step, and I'll look at him like, Johnny, I'm sorry. I don't remember any of it.
But the haters say it's fake.
Yeah, listen, man. In a world where everybody thinks that something is fake, I challenge them honestly, and I know this has been said a million times. Get in there and see for yourself.
As
if
somebody
you
who
really
sets
think
up
it's
these
fake.
things,
Mhm.
sorry to interrupt you though, Tom,
No,
but
you're fine.
as somebody who sets up these things, you have to understand what a wrestling ring is and why it could lead into injuries that wrestlers and managers, valets can have, and referees. A wrestling ring is basically a giant metal structure. And if you're listening to this, you probably already know this. I'm just saying it in case somebody comes across this. It is a giant, pretty much metal structure they put together. Then you add boards to this metal structure. And then on those boards, you put about this much padding if you're lucky. And then you put a canvas over it to hold it all together.
Let's say sometimes
That's
none
it.
at all.
There,
No
there's
padding
not
at all.
there's
When a
So
canvas-
there's
when
not
we were
much.
wrestling, when we were down at WVWE, they were a little bit of a tougher company. And instead of using any kind of padding, they literally put a carpet over top of the wood.
Ooh,
That was
that
that's
does
what we
not
bumped
See what I
sound fun.
mean? Like there's
So-
always
yeah.
like
Yeah.
like sometimes none at all. Like,
But you know what though? That was the easiest ring to wrestle in as well because it was very easy to walk on. You didn't sink in. Some people use way too much padding, and sometimes when you're trying to get your footing, you'll sink in.
oh yeah, it
And
feels like
you know what I
quicksand.
mean? Yeah, exactly. I
That's what
once
it felt
wrestled a
like
show.
on a. When I remember when I was training in Rick Diamond's ring, like I felt like the cushion sometimes does that. I'm like,
I've
whoa.
Mhm.
I had other experiences helping Rick set up his ring and testing it. I've had to take practice bumps in it. That's a rough ring. You definitely feel it
Mhm.
Yeah,
later.
you're trying to run the ropes and like sometimes your feet sinks in. There's nothing
No,
wrong
I'm
with it. I mean,
talking. No, I'm talking about when you have to test it and do the
oh
test
yeah,
like with
that's
bumps.
brutal.
That ring is brutal and you feel it.
It's hard. One of the hardest rings you'll hit.
I remember one ring in particular where they were missing boards on one side of the ring.
Ooh,
So there were no
yeah.
boards. It was just
Yeah.
metal, and that was
Oh.
bad. Like everybody kept telling me, like beforehand, they were like, "Hey, whatever you do, don't run in there."
Yeah,
Don't
don't
run.
bump on that side.
Don't
yeah,
run. And
don't run.
don't run. You'll fall
Yeah, don't-
through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fall through.
don't-
What?
That's
Stop in the
That's
middle.
where the Undertaker's gonna pop
Yeah.
up later.
Yeah, and then I remember my tag partner for the night decided to try to whip me into that corner.
And you
And I
said,
was like, I'm not
"Go
running."
right in the middle of that whip."
No, I went, but
Oh,
I
dude,
don't know
I
how
would have been
safe
like,
it was.
hell no, we're reversing this. I would have reminded
I
hey, dumb
I
shit.
literally just jumped in the middle of the ring and just jumped as hard as I can to try to make it to that corner. And I think I ended up go face first into my opponent's private area. So like
Insult to injury on that one.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, if I was missing stuff like that, I probably would not sign off on a show, but
Yeah.
I didn't know until the show was already going on.
I
so it was kinda a
know.
little
Just
too
like
late.
as a
Yeah.
promoter, I mean, yeah, you have to think about people's safety, man. But that's not what we're talking about. We're here talking about Tommy Horror.
Tommy, with all this, you just told us a little bit of a story with the ring and anything. Are there any road stories that really just stick out to you that are appropriate to share? I know some of these get a little weird, but
When
do you
you're on
have
the road
any,
with somebody like Johnny Switchblade, it's never appropriate.
is there any that you can actually tell us?
Let's see. I'm blanking. This is
putting you on
going to
the
be
spot.
a dead spot in the podcast. You guys can edit this, right?
No, unfortunately, we're a one
All right,
take. We
man.
learned that. You already know we learned that.
That's fair. No. Let's see. A good road story. Okay. So in this car at the time was me, Johnny Switchblade, another wrestler by the name of J. Rue, who some of your listeners might know, and another guy called the Honky Tonk Man, which I would hope your listeners know.
Okay.
So
This is interesting now.
Member of the
so
Lawler family.
this is the safest road story I can give. So anyway, Honky Tonk Man's talking to us about stuff that was going on in WWE at the time. And at that time, J. Rue was in a couple different companies and he was doing this rap battle persona where he would just pretty much tell people off, exactly what John Cena was doing at the time on TV, but he had just started doing it. John Cena just started doing it, where J-Ru had been doing it for years. So we go by Elizabeth, and there's a big sign for IWC Wrestling there, okay? And Honky Tonk Man sees it, and he goes, by God, that is the company that they got the idea for John Cena from. And we're like, what do you mean? And they go, they were watching some tape of some kid at IWC, and he was rap battling people, and they said, hey, John, can you do this? And John was like, yeah, I can do it. Honky literally told us that they had ripped off J-Ru
In
or
front of
John
J-Ru.
Cena's in front of J-Ru, not realizing it was him.
Did he come clean, or no? J-Ru didn't say a word. He
we just all sat there. We all like got real white. Like we were like,
I bet you Honky Tonks looking at everything like, wait, they know this motherfucker.
Yeah,
they're like, something's not right here. They all just went quiet at the exact same time.
Yeah, they didn't say a word to that. They were like, oh,
Did
cool.
my wig
They're
fall
like,
off?
nothing. No
What's
words.
going
Like,
on?
yeah, I think they might know this guy.
Right. And then, I got some, there's some fun stuff in there with, we did this show that my trainer put on. He called it Rated R Wrestling, which was a bit of an edgier company, obviously, with the name Rated R Wrestling. I got to meet this wrestler named Jock Sampson. Do you guys know him?
Really? I was thinking of bringing my 2-year-old.
I'm
sorry.
You don't have any kids, but no.
It's a joke.
But,
so I've heard of Jock Sampson, yes.
Yeah. So, like, Jock's down there, and everybody's like, he's going to give you a hard time, dude. He's going to and like, they like baited me the whole time. And I'm scared out of my mind because I'm green. I'm very new in the business. And they're like, this is who you're working tonight. And he's probably going to, like, if you don't listen to him, he's going to legit, like, just beat the hell out of you. And I'm sitting there the whole way down there. It's like a 3-hour drive into West Virginia. And I'm like looking at Switchblade, and I'm like, dude, we have to be very careful. We have to be super careful. We get to the arena, and Jock is literally the nicest guy in the world. Like,
They have you all prepped, scared.
Yeah, they had me all like messed up, and like, being new in the business, I was like, man, this is gonna be bad. We're getting
causing all kinds of unnecessary stress. Which would be funny.
Tom is just panicking. He's not the cool, collected guy you see on Saturdays in McKeesport yet. He's still green and nervous. Hey,
but that's not quite as scary though, as my very first match was against a guy named Bulldozer. I was in a tag team with another trainee named Ron C. This was the only time I didn't tag with Switchblade, but like we had to wrestle this guy Lightning, who was pretty cool. I knew him from before because I had seen him in Western Pennsylvania a few times, being a fan of indie wrestling. And then a guy named Bulldozer, who we now know as the Beast Man.
Oh.
So this is my first match, and he's telling me he's going to do that spot where, oh, wait, we're exposing. Oh, well. Anyway, he goes.
A little bit.
Yeah, he tells me I do the spot where I do a cannonball in the corner. And if anybody has seen Kevin Owens, right? But you have to remember, this kid that I'm talking to, if you've seen Beastman, he's like 400 pounds. Okay.
Beastman's a big dude. He's
I've met him. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there in the corner waiting for this. And I just see this 400-pound man running full speed at me. And like, literally, I'm sitting there. I'm like, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. And like, he hits his cannonball, and he told me it wasn't going to be anything. And the next thing I know, I can't breathe. So on the way home, we were in the car, and I was sitting in the back seat, and we stopped at the Sheets. And I got out of the car, and I knew like he had hit me pretty good. But when I went to get out and started to walk, after all the adrenaline wore off, we were on our way home, I collapsed in the Sheets parking lot and puked all over my shoes. So there,
that's a solid hit. He's a solid dude.
But you know what though? He's fine. I to this day, Beast Man, I love you.
Also,
we're on good terms these days.
Other than
That's
Beast
good.
Man, you have an interesting story about a guy that you faced when he first came into this business that you've told me before.
Which one?
G-Raver.
Oh yeah. So G-Raver had his first match in Western Pennsylvania. And it was at RWA, and it was the TV Casualty's second match. And this kid came down, and his name was G-Raver. So, none of us at the time had ever heard of him. But he impressed that night. Like he killed it. It was a, you know what I mean? It was a great match. We all had a very competitive, fun time. And since then, yeah. But we always had a little later on after we weren't competing against each other anymore. He was going on to do his thing. We were doing our thing. He had gotten on the good side of the fans. We were on the good side of the fans. And we had this thing where like we would look at each other backstage and I just look at him and he'd look at me and we'd both just go, dick. Like it's just yeah. So those are the silly things that like, wrestlers who are friends will do backstage. So
well, I learned if you pay attention to anything that goes around some of the guys at PWX, I'm walking backstage at a PWX at the last show, and the Sons of Mifflin County are doing a little vlog, and I just happen to be wearing my RD Mosh shirt, and I'm walking up, not realizing they're doing their vlog. I just bought a Sawyer shirt because if I didn't, he said he'd kill me. I'm walking up the steps, and TRK looks at me and goes, "They're letting fans back here?" And I'm like, "What?" I got put on the spot. I'm like, "Oh crap." So I walk away, and then I come to my senses. I'm like, "Wait a minute, you guys still got to do my podcast. What are you doing? Call me a fan? I'm Ring Crew. You know this."
Oh man,
trying to get at me a little bit, be a little bit of a smart aleck. I like TRK and RD Mosh. They're cool guys, but oh god, they got me.
Well, you know what? You know what, Kevin from Ring Crew? Maybe one day you can join Genophage. We'll put you under a mask and you can get in there and wrestle.
No, I feel wearing a mask would. I have like claustrophobia a bit. I don't like when things really close like this. Doesn't bother me, but if something's like sucked up to my face, like swim goggles freak me out. Like contacts freak me out. Stuff like that I'm adding to my body. That's why I don't have any piercings or anything. I'm just really weird about accessories.
My man,
I think we should put him in a casket just an idea. See how claustrophobic he gets when he loses.
That's true. No, yeah. I still got a long way to go before I enter that ring, other than just testing it.
All right, Kevin. All right. But we'll be watching you.
But
maybe I can recruit you into the agency. And I need some people at the office.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to compete? Why are you trying to compete with me? I thought we were friends.
He said he doesn't want to wrestle.
I just said I got some time to go. That's all I said. I'm good with what
Unless
I'm
you
doing.
got behind the scenes stuff for him, I'll stay out of it.
I will say this though, Tommy. Unfortunately, your in-ring career had to come to an end.
Yeah.
To move on, do you mind telling us what that is? Because I mean, to the fans that know you now, they are aware of the situation on this camera. It's not that easily to see. So do you want to just let us in on the sad end to your wrestling career?
I mean, we can call it sad, but I mean, like, it was probably a blessing because I feel like I'm more at home now being an advisor like I am for Genophage. But so basically, despite what the River Dirt in McKeesport wants to believe, because I hear it every week and every time we have a show, I guess, a monthly show, but I hear it all the time from, the River Dirt in the front row. You can walk. And the truth is I can walk a little. I can take a few steps, but I am in a wheelchair because I developed an issue called CMT, which stands for Charcot-Marie Tooth. It's a neurological issue, and it affects the joints in my, legs. Well, pretty much my entire body eventually, but right now it's just, isolated to my legs at the moment. But yeah, my one foot is kind of turned at the ankle at the moment. So unfortunately, walking very far is out of the question. But I mean, like, I'm still able to drive and do things like that, but definitely couldn't wrestle. I wouldn't be able to pull off any moves without falling on my face. So it's, competition is just completely out of it. But, that's the nice thing too, is that, like, I get to use my mind a little bit more. I can't remember exactly who used to say it, but, there used to be a saying, like, when it comes to competing in a physical sport, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And the good news is, being a advisor like that and being on the outside, I can still give advice. I can still do all those things. I don't have to worry about everything getting scrambled because I got punched in the face. So
I mean, you did take a road sign a couple months ago.
it was a garbage can lid, but yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought
thanks,
it was the
Ampo.
road sign. Was it a lid?
It was a lid. It was a garbage can lid from Ampo, who I warned a million times that he shouldn't touch me, and now he's got to get a lawyer. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Now-
I didn't hear about this. I got a
Hell
little
yeah.
bit of.
How
Oh,
are
yeah,
you?
can't touch
How are
me.
you also in charge and you don't know anything?
Wow, that's
You are
amazing.
the
No one
assistant
informed me.
CEO.
No one
and you don't
informed me of
know?
a
I don't
lawsuit.
feel like
about
I
that.
need to
Is
inform
interesting.
you. The only person who needed informed was Aaron Lester and Ampo himself.
That is
when
true. I am
when
only the assistant.
Wouldn't a
That is
translator
true.
have to be involved in that transaction?
I don't
there?
care if he can read it or not. If he don't show up, I win by default.
All right, but
I'm not getting him a translator. He can get himself a translator.
but Tommy, with everything, with the having to be hang up the boots and stuff like that, I know a lot of times for guys that have been around a while, it's really hard to stop that itch to be in the ring. It's very hard for a guy to walk away from it all. And did you walked away for a good bit of time before you became an advisor, right?
Yeah, I did. I disappeared for a while because for a while there I was kind of upset with my body and myself for for giving up on me like that. But eventually I came to my senses and realized that I can still do good in the industry.
All right.
Sorry,
Our,
I just saw
our,
that.
our,
Saw that
Oh,
pop
there
up
goes
on
our
the screen.
producer.
Oh yeah, we didn't tell you. We didn't tell you, Tommy. We have a producer here, and he just goes rogue.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's probably because he's not being paid. We told him it was pro bono. He said he was fine with it, but I don't think he knew what pro bono meant.
So
listen,
there
it's
you
a
have it.
matter of
Breaking
public
news:
record.
Ampo Destroyer sued.
It's a matter of public record if you look into the courts.
That is true.
So
it is public
that's
record,
fine.
but it is breaking news just now. Apparently, Ampo the Destroyer is now sued.
What before we go into your other bit of your career choice with the music, I have a quick question. What got you involved with Genophage? Because Pav for a while there was part of Fight Society, and then out of nowhere, you just kind of came in and this group formed, and you guys.
Well, Pav was kind of at a point where he didn't know where to go next. And he reached out to me and he said to me, what can we do from here? Like, I tried to take over PWX, so obviously they're not going to let me come back. And I said, Pav, we don't ask, we take. So at that point, we started talking back and forth because, me and Pav really didn't know each other too well, but he respected me enough to give me a call and ask for my advice. And this is what I told him. And he asked me, he said, would you come back as my advisor? And I said, as long as you listen to me, kid, we're going to do okay. I know that Pav is extremely intelligent. He's a loudmouth, but the guy had a great plan. The only thing I did was take his plan and show him a little easier path. So I edited his ideas. Then we went and got Panthro. Then after that, we went and recruited Ram. You're going to start to see us get more brutal. And the way we're going to do that is to just keep progressing with the plan that we have. And I don't want to give too many things away, but you're going to see a more brutal Genophage, a bigger Genophage, and just all around more successful Genophage.
Now, real quick, I know Panthro was joined PWX a bit before you guys brought him into Genophage, but what's his deal? We know nothing about him. Being the advisor to Genophage, can you let us in on anything about him? He just kind of popped up.
He is the legendary luchador from Moonskull Island. The man took on and destroyed an entire zombie invasion on his home island. That's the story with Panthro. That's how we heard about him. And that's also where we found him.
So even before Genophage was formed, you'd say you guys started putting the pieces together without anyone paying attention.
Oh, absolutely.
So this has been long and drawn
Nobody
out.
was looking this way. Everybody thought that Pav was done, that he wasn't coming back because Fight Society wasn't coming back. And that was the best time to strike. As soon as everybody thought that Pav was gone and that he wasn't coming back, that's when we struck.
So you'd say since you hung up the boots, you've definitely got a chance to sit there and become more tactical and I don't want to say
absolutely.
I don't want to say conniving. That sounds like an insult. What's the word I'm
You
looking
can try
for?
to insult me all you want, but the real thing here is it's not about being conniving. Genophage doesn't work hard. Genophage works smart.
Typical Americans. I have to say.
I'm sorry.
Aren't you also American? What? Or is this news? Breaking news. Eric Johnson is of unknown descent.
I'm sorry.
Put that in there,
I'm
producer.
Let me make it more clear. That's typical Americans who don't want to work hard.
Well, sure, but the American way is getting the most out of everything with the smallest of effort. Are you going to tell me I'm wrong?
I mean, you do invest in the stock market. You're not out there making the trades. You're not on Wall Street, EJ. You're sitting on your smartphone on
Tuckus.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I mean, I trade retail just like 95% of traders. It's fine.
But no, without giving too many details, me and Eric here have made business deals. It is what it is. It's business. It's not personal.
It is business. You know,
I still feel like I'm witnessing a crime. I don't
do
know
have a
why.
lot of
You're not witnessing a crime. There's no crime, man. There were documents signed, legal documents. It is fine.
Okay, I'm just making sure those documents exist because from what I understood,
Listen here, Kevin from Ring Crew.
Listen, after the Derek Wayne interview, I found out a bunch of things, and he got insulted when I called it a bromance. They started getting angry at each other because of a business deal, and I'm just saying.
The difference was that business deal went wrong. Mine didn't go wrong.
See, what happened with that is that situation helped me. Derek has his hands now in trouble with RK Sawyer. Well, that's now his problem. I got what I wanted. So, as far as I'm concerned, him and RK is between him and RK.
That's true. And you know, the thing is, you need to not worry, Kevin, because we didn't do anything illegal. Maybe Eric helped us bring in a security guard who may have not been the greatest security guard in the history of time. But it is what it is. Nothing was illegal. He was legally hired by the company to be a security guard.
I'm just saying this is too much for my
brain.
Well,
the guy applied. Now. He seemed like a nice individual. I mean, I made him my security guard, and then he just got involved in a match. I mean, I did not expect that.
And I may have
there with his
application to the top of the pile.
I'm not hearing this right now, so we're going to move on from this before I get involved somehow when this all comes to light. Anyway, Tommy, along with wrestling, as we mentioned earlier, you got into the music scene, and you did that before you even got into wrestling, and then even still while you were, because even now you're still making music.
Yeah. In fact, you know, some of the guys, their entrance music is made by me. I did some of that for them. Even Genophage's own music, I wrote and produced that myself. You know, music has always just been a thing for me. You know, when I was younger, my dad was a guitar player. So I ended up, you know, getting a guitar from him when I was like 9 years old and just figuring out how to play it on my own. And since then, you know, I really worked hard, probably 6 to 8 hours a night, forgetting my homework and just playing and trying to write my own music. I was never really into playing other people's music as much as just writing my own stuff. But you know, eventually I met a couple guys who worked for Interscope Records, and it was totally just a coincidental meeting. But I ended up getting a ghostwriter and a session musician contract, and I worked on some stuff that, because of a non-disclosure, I can't really say who it was or anything like that. But, I got to work with some really, really talented musicians who are very high up on, on the musical tier. And then after that, I decided I wanted to, after that was done, I decided I wanted to go ahead and try to, start my own thing in my hometown. Did that for a while. We started getting some headway. We got to tour with some bands that were friends of ours. We did 8 dates with guys from Avenged Sevenfold, 8 dates with My Chemical Romance. Just some stuff right here on the East Coast. And it was fun, but being away all that time just wasn't for me. So that's when I decided to come back and get into wrestling instead. And then just do that. That way, that was more of something I could do while I stayed at home. So even to this day, I still like creating and doing the whole music thing. For instance, now I'm learning more about the recording arts. I'm going to classes and just studying more music theory, more modern music theory, because I feel like I'm getting a little outdated at this point. Getting older. I'm 40 now, so yeah, the more modern theories are probably going to benefit me.
So what's the modern theory today? You just put music on a computer screen. You don't need instruments anymore. Is that the modern?
I mean, yeah, no, dude. I play live instruments.
Good.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying,
all right.
like, people who use a computer and say, "I'm a musician."
Wait.
What did you do?
Wait, hold on. Now, when it comes to the drums, obviously being disabled, I can't play drums.
Well, yeah. I'm talking.
I do
100% computer.
I do program the drums from what they call triggers, which is just samples of people actually playing a drum, and each drum individually one time, and then I just dial it in with a keyboard. So
yeah, I'm not going to fault anybody using a drum machine. I mean, Def Leppard, their guy had an arm missing. He legit played like they had the snare drum like hit.
Yeah. He had pedals on the side of his feet
pedals
there,
too.
so he
My
could,
bad. Yeah, he had pedals and stuff, so it still worked. I mean, he didn't need 2 arms. He figured out a way.
You want to hear a funny joke? What has 9 arms and sucks?
What?
Def Leppard.
Oh.
And that was the last episode of the podcast, people. But no,
I'm just kidding. I really like Def Leppard actually, but I thought that was a funny joke.
Oh my god!
But all right, Tom, you said you didn't like playing other people's music, but you definitely had to have had just inspirations. Like in wrestling, everyone has their favorite wrestlers, and I'm sorry we did pass up on that, so we'll do it in a double take here. Can you just list some of your favorite wrestlers and musicians that really got you to get into these 2 passions?
Okay, well, we'll start off with wrestling. So the very first live show I ever went to, because my dad and my grandmother were really big fans of wrestling. So that's how I ended up stumbling upon it. Is I can remember like I was playing in the living room with, my action figures or whatever, probably Star Wars at this point if I'm like 4 or 5, and my dad's watching Ric Flair. He's watching a match with Ric Flair, and I ended up like sitting there watching it, and I was just like completely mesmerized. And then when I was 9, he decided to take me to a show. The very first show I went to was an NWA show. I believe it was NWA Mid-South. But anyway, the main event for the night was Ric Flair versus the Great Muta. And that just left a amazing feeling for me, just being at that show and seeing these live crowds. And I think it had a little bit to do with my music career as well, because it was like, man, I wish I was in there and I was the one that these people were reacting to. So, when it comes to music, being on stage, people were reacting to what I'm doing. Being in wrestling, people were reacting to what I'm doing. So right off the bat, 2 of my favorite wrestlers of all time are Ric Flair and the Great Muta. In fact, I cried a little the other day when they announced that Muta was going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I thought that was an awesome moment.
That
has to be a Triple H decision.
Yeah, but I don't care.
I know.
He deserves it. He 100% deserves it. He innovated so many things. He was the first person in the United States to do a moonsault. I don't know if you know
Really?
that. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Ric Flair, Muta, Sting obviously was big growing up. I was a really big fan of Bret Hart too, but I didn't really get into WWF until like 91, 92. I watched NWA constantly. The Four Horsemen were my thing. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, those guys. That was my go-to. What are you? My cat's playing with something. You can probably hear sounds in the background.
Yeah,
who do you think's the best out of the Four Horsemen?
Oh, Flair.
Absolutely.
If it's not Flair, it's Arn.
See, I like
not a big Tully
Blanchard.
fan.
That's my dude.
No, I get it. Tully was great. I mean, his matches, if you remember those matches with Magnum TA, especially that blow-off cage match that they had, that I Quit cage match. Oh, man, that was brutal.
Is that on Peacock?
Probably. Yeah.
We are not sponsored by Peacock, for those of you listening.
Oh, I know, but like, I'm saying, like, is that on the WWE footage on Peacock? I'd love to check that out.
I'm sure of it because they have that whole NWA Mid-South and in Georgia library.
I'm sure it is in there somewhere.
Yeah, just everything Crockett and Kevin Sullivan owned. They have it all. Florida too, probably. But
yeah, they do got FCW. They got both FCW, old and the developmental one.
Right on. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it's probably on there. If I can find the show, I'll send you a link for it. If I can figure out what show it was on.
Okay.
But it was, oh man, that match is just absolutely brutal. And you can see like why they were setting up Magnum TA to be the next big thing. And unfortunately, his career was cut short when he was in a bad accident. So, but Magnum TA is another one that I really liked, but he never got a chance to come into his own either. So, Bruiser Brody. I think that's why I love the Bruisers so much when they came in. I had to watch their match at PWX with Keystone Chaos because I don't know. I also like watching Keystone Chaos get their asses kicked too. But like,
if you've seen the footage that I seen, before I brought them in, that's why I did. I knew that was going to be an awesome tag title match, but I did not know was the chaos it was going to bring, and the fact that I need to bring them in again.
So there's definitely personal issues between Genophage and Keystone Chaos. Like,
yes, there is.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
William Renee got rocked.
Yeah, he did. Fuck those guys. They robbed us. Sorry, but they robbed us of getting the tag titles twice. So the hell with Keystone Chaos. I don't care what. It was fun watching them get their asses kicked by two guys who look like Bruiser Brody.
I have a question though. Wasn't one of those finishes of a match refereed by a certain individual?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I remember somebody was fired as a referee, begged for their job back, got promoted.
First of all, I did not beg. I clearly negotiated in that ring, and I ended up getting the job back. All right.
First of all, that was Derek Wayne and Thunder Bear. That wasn't Genophage.
No, I'm saying he's been a part. I swear
we're talking about me here.
No. I'm saying I know we're talking about you.
I'm your guest tonight. Not
you are my guest. Don't take that as disrespect. I just want to say I know Eric Johnson had refereed Genophage.
I did ref those matches between them two. Yes,
and you said you guys have had written things going on.
I remember.
Did we walk away with the title that night? Then no. Me and Eric Johnson did not have any deals that night.
Now, let me tell you why I have my own bone to pick with Keystone Chaos, okay? In that match with Genophage, all right? I am pulling Van Strader apart. What does he do? He chases me out of the ring. I mean, what kind of clown is that? I'm trying to do my job as a referee at the time. So that's where I got my own bone to pick with Van Strader. I don't know what his problem was chasing.
I don't think a member of management should be saying things that they have bones to pick with the roster. But I mean, Vince McMahon can do it. Why not? I guess. But
I mean, you just said it.
I mean, I guess so. I apparently I don't know anything going on anymore.
Stick to the ring crew, kid.
I'll stick to putting the ring together. But continue where you were at, Tom. Sorry, I just had to remember that for a moment.
All right, so we covered favorite wrestlers, right?
Yeah, you just got done with saying that you like the Bruisers. It reminds you of Bruiser Brody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bruiser Brody was great. And you know what? A lot of kids my age, they grew up in the Hulk Hogan era, but I never cared for Hulk Hogan. I was not a huge fan of Hulk Hogan.
That is an interesting take, especially by today,
yeah.
because there's a lot of guys that'll live and swear by Hulk Hogan, Macho Man
Oh, you're
Randy
right.
Savage,
And
Lex
I don't
Luger.
and I don't fault them. I mean, you know what I mean? You like what you like. Wrestling is wrestling. Wrestling is art. Art is subjective. You like what you like. But
Yeah.
I just, I wasn't a big WWF guy. The guys I liked in WWF were like the British Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation and stuff. Like I was into mostly when it came to WWF, it was the tag teams, and I only watched it sparingly. I was very interested in like NWA and their old school style. So, you know what I mean? But Piper, I mean, come on. You had to watch.
How'd you like the
WWE
transition
Piper.
when they went to just WCW? Early 90s.
It was weird because like they would still call themselves NWA Mid-South, but they in the background they would have a banner that would say WCW, and it was always like, what's going on with that? What's going on with that? And they slowly transitioned into WCW.
Yeah, you could
Speaking
tell
of WCW,
they just said NWA less and less and less every broadcast.
Yeah, and then eventually they got away from the NWA and they just became WCW. And, it didn't bother me too much because it still seemed like the same product until Jim Herd came in and everybody started leaving. That was that was bad.
That's where I say WCW's downfall really started at was Jim Herd.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes
NWO
to WCW,
just kind of helped keep it alive for a
let's
little bit
put it this way. The reason that Ric Flair went to WWF in 1991 is because Jim Herd wanted to cut his hair and put an earring in his ear and call him Spartacus. Like that is a real story. So
why would
that
you
was
do that to your main event guy? Like, what is this? Like,
right.
Oh my god. Man.
And then after that, who did he decide to put the title on? And no disrespect to him, but Lex Luger. Okay. That's who took the title after Flair left. Lex had a great look. Apparently, he was a great guy. Everybody liked him. He didn't have the talent to hold a world title, especially one so prestigious as the WCW world title, because at that time, it was literally known as the world title.
Yeah, that was
defended
the
everywhere. Ric Flair defended it in Japan.
Yes, Japan, Germany, Puerto
Korea,
Rico. Puerto Rico, he lost it 3 times. That's undocumented. Because if he didn't lose that night, there was going to be riots, and he was afraid of getting stabbed. But that happened.
I have the fans thinking he's champ, and they're like, "How's he going to explain that he lost the belt the next day?"
Yeah. I mean, seeing how the crowd in McKeesport reacts to you, I can't be surprised that you don't have some of the same thoughts sometimes. You really know how to make them mad.
Yeah, but I ain't scared.
I'm kind of glad they're warming up to me. They're starting to like me now.
That's good for you.
Yeah. At first, they wanted to take my head off, but they're starting to like me.
The thing is, in all honesty, I'm going to say what I want to say. They can like me or they can hate me. It really doesn't matter to me.
Fair enough. See, I'm a public face, so I would hope that what I do for fans, they would appreciate.
I feel that. It's just when they see what we do at Berg Brawl, they're probably really going to hate me. I don't want to give anything away, but it's not going to be pretty.
I don't want to know. I want to be just as surprised as the fan.
I don't want to know because I've already heard too much.
I want to look at it as the eye of the fan so I can see it in their perspective. Don't even say it. I don't know what you got planned. I have no idea what Genophage is thinking.
You know what everybody else should expect from Genophage at Berg Brawl? Pain.
Pain and suffering?
Rocky 3.
Yeah. All right, but back to what you were saying.
Pain and suffering. There we go.
Now, Tom, we did hear some of your favorite wrestlers. Now, do you mind letting us in on the music half of you? Because there is 2 sides of you on that one. So, obviously.
They're flipped. I'm sorry. So the Misfits are a huge thing for me. That's the first band I can really remember listening to when I was a kid. So the Misfits have always been a big thing for me. Nirvana. I grew up in the 90s, so Nirvana is
grunge was a hit back then.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Nirvana, Soundgarden is huge to me. But I was very big in the punk scene for years and years and years. So and when people think of punk, they think of like that 90s garbage that came out, the pop punk. But no, I'm talking about like bands like Face to Face, the Distillers. The Ramones, of course, because it's the Ramones. You have to love the Ramones, especially if you're into that type of music at all.
Sex Pistols, stuff like that.
Sex Pistols, more obscure bands like the Sust, the Exploited. That was definitely my biggest influences. But I also, weirdly enough, would dabble into like pop music a lot too. So like, the more popular songs, like I'm really into doo-wop too. And that throws people off a lot. But like 50s and 60s doo-wop, like the Zombies and Bobby Vinton, people like that. And then today I was just talking to a friend, and I introduced her to Cat Stevens. If you guys know Cat Stevens at all.
But, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I can't think of songs off the top of my head. I'm a very big music person myself.
Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows that song. So,
and
yeah, that's
it
Cat
just
Stevens.
so happens this didn't work out that way, but I'm also wearing the shirt of a band that you could care more or less about.
Uh-huh.
It's by complete happenstance.
It's not that I hate Kiss. It's just that I despise them.
What's the difference?
There's a lot more letters in the word despise. Sounds smarter.
There you go. Fair enough.
But no, because I don't hate Kiss. I remember as a kid growing up, and I did listen to some Kiss, but it just wasn't for me. And then their attitudes about the music business, I just didn't care for. So, I mean, there's that.
With your time in the music business, would you say that you said you'd cross paths with and done shows with like Avenged Sevenfold, My Chemical Romance, anything like that, and you said there's some other bands that you couldn't talk about for whatever reasons or whatever that was. It was earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
But are there any other like big time music names that you got a chance to talk to or anything about the music that really filtered into what you do with your band currently, Ghost of the Day?
I mean, like, as far as bands that influenced and whatnot, or are we talking about like, people I've actually talked to? Because like a big one for me would be man, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the lead singer from a band called Karate High School, who was a touring band. He's the one who really got me interested in recording on my own, because that's what he was doing. Today I find a lot of my inspiration from the band Ghost, even though I've never met any of those guys.
I'm wearing a hat for Ghost right now. You can't see it because it's backwards, but
right on. Yeah. So a lot of like the stuff that I'm doing now, I find it like, because even as a musician, you get creative and you start making up your own stuff, but you will see bits and pieces of influences from whatever you're listening to at that time. And I caught myself a bunch of times going like, I can't do that. That sounds too much like Ghost. But Green Day's a big one for me, but I never got to meet them either. But I got to meet some of the guys from AFI, and they were a lot of fun. I remember one time in my hometown back in the day, it used to be kind of like one of the stops for a lot of the up and coming bands. And I remember meeting the guys from Fall Out Boy, but like didn't really get to talk to them. Just, it was just a, hello, how are you? Hey, good show. Punchline is from my area, and they're a signed band. I don't know if you ever heard of Punchline, but they were in a couple movies, soundtracks.
Again, if I heard, I'd probably know the song before I knew the band. It's just how
I remember their one song. They have a song called Green Light, and it was on Van Wilder 2, The Rise of Taj. It's a party scene, but it's playing in the background, and that was pretty exciting too, because they were from an area near me, and it was cool. I can remember. Okay, so there's a story about that too. So there was this venue down in my hometown, and at the time that Punchline band was just starting. And I feel so bad about this now because, I always want to be professional, but I was like a 13, 14-year-old kid at the time. But this band got on there and they were just this Punchline band, the first time they played a show, they were awful. You could tell they had no experience being on stage. They were scared out of their mind. They didn't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. And everybody, including me in the crowd's yelling at them like, hey, kids, it's past your bedtime. And like, you know what I mean? Just making fun of them. But I think it's really cool that they went ahead and were able to push through that and end up making it. But at the time, we hazed them pretty bad.
I mean, that's me with wrestling. I feel that maybe I could get in there and do a match, but the stage fright is just too much for me at the
I
current
get it,
moment.
but just stay out of Genophage's way, and we won't have a problem. You can do what you want.
I try, but you guys are just kind of seem to be popping up everywhere now.
That's because we're good at it. That's all it comes down to, kid.
Just gotta make sure you stay out of the boss's way, or you're all right.
No, see, that's the difference.
You're not talking to me, are you?
No, him.
No, me and him work on a podcast together. Even though he's the boss, he still has to deal with me one way or another.
Do you want funding?
Yeah.
What funding? Our producer doesn't get paid, and he does whatever he wants.
Oh,
I
my
didn't
bad.
say I was
asking
paying
you.
him.
I mean, I can't really see. Look, I have a
Hey,
green
you did
screen.
get
that's
yourself
not
a
even-
green screen, though. You know, you're using it for something.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't.
Can we put like a wall of fire behind him or something?
I probably
man, I
could if I
wish.
really.
I
Hold
don't
on.
think he got that far yet.
Give him
Hold
that
on.
WCW Nitro feel behind him.
There you go.
No, unfortunately, I can't do it right now for some reason. But you know, if I could see more money, you know, he's got all this money. He likes to gloat about it on his social media that he has all this massive wealth. But this is an adventure. I came to him for a business partnership, and I must be the like joke of his businesses. I don't know. So I hope you're getting a better deal than I am with whatever you signed and whatever it was for.
Tell PWX you need more money.
Yeah, they'll just say your ring crew, go away.
I mean,
I was talking to Eric, but
yeah. I mean, I could make.
you don't deserve any more pay.
I
Eric
could make a
probably
sales
does.
pitch if I felt like it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But Tom, this was a very fun talking to you today.
No, it really wasn't. But thank you, Kevin.
At least for me, it was. I got to learn a few things. That was
right.
interesting. He walks in here and just to show.
So I guess my question is, what's next for Genophage?
If you pronounce it right, he might hit you.
It's okay.
It's
quiet. Okay in this situation. What's next for Genophage?
Genophage. That's right.
You got it?
Yeah, what's next? You thinking about?
Next for Genophage. So it's not so much what thinking about, but I'm trying to think how I can say it and not ruin the surprise. And the next thing I can say is bigger, more brutal, and better. That's all I have to say. But come and see us on April 8th at 2125 Beacon Street for PWX Presents Berg Brawl.
Yep, Berg Brawl is going to be an excellent show.
You will see, yes, it's going to be amazing, and you're going to see what's next for us, and you're either going to get on board with it or you're going to hate us even more. Because
no, I mean, I'm just thinking you got the big Berg Brawl event. You know, I put in my stipulation: if you eliminate a champion, you get to go after him. So I cannot wait to see that.
All I'm going to say is thank you for that.
Absolutely, man. I'm here to give opportunities to the guys.
I'm not hearing this because I feel
no. He doesn't have to do anything but make that stipulation. It's all legal. But Genophage has a plan, and it's a plan that fits within the rules of Berg Brawl.
It is in the rules.
No worries.
All right. Well, with that, Tom, thank you for your time. Even if you didn't like being here, it was great talking to you and getting to learn more about you. I hope our viewers also appreciate the time to really get to know you and learn that you really can't get up out of that chair.
Well, it was your pleasure.
I imagined you would say that. So thank you for your time.
Before I go, come to PWX April 8th and witness the genesis of PWX. Welcome to the Genophage.
Come see the genesis of PWX April 8th. I love it.
April 8th. All right. So thank you for your time, Mr. Horror. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I guess we'll see what happens come the next PWX event, Berg Brawl, 2125 Beacon Street, McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Kevin. I hope all your hair falls out and comes back red.
Okay.
Oh my god, wow, that's really wishing some hell on somebody, man. Whew. Brutal. All right, well, thank you
Later,
all for
Riveter.
joining us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a video that comes out by Indy-Vision Podcast.
And stick around for episode 4. You never know who's going to pop up on the Indy-Vision Podcast.
That's
Have a
right.
good night,
We'll see
folks.
you next time.